All right, man, we got Raw Skeleton in the house. Freak Show represent. So, go ahead and introduce yourself to the people, my man.
Yeah. Raw Skeleton representing the Freakshow Crew, Tricks and Blows. You know how we do worldwide. A little about myself. You know, my crew, we've been around since I want to say 2001, 2002. Kind of one of the originator crews behind like the abstract style, or that more explosive, dynamic style, as you would say. Um,
Word.
we've done a lot in the game, you know what I'm saying? So, a little small inside of what we are and what we do, but we're basically known for our style and our approach behind, the breaking world. But at the end of the day, we're just creators, we're just artists, we're just, people of, of just different type of, energy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, just a little insight. Yeah, I was born and raised in Washington, D.C. So, originally my roots of where I come from, my heritage is from, the East Coast of things. Deeply rooted, obviously as growing up as a indigenous person of color, you know what I mean, in society and everything, going with the typical, struggles, the day-to-day struggles and things that we deal with. Obviously, I don't need to kind of get into that too much, but, my mom kind of moved us away from that environment because where we were raised, it was very violent, very hard, very traumatizing. As a kid growing up, just dealing with certain things of just like learning how to the survival tactics at like a young age was just very, very not normal for a kid, for a child. So, my
Right.
mom kind of just like took us and we moved to Colorado. Colorado is kind of where I like was like kind of opened up to like more of like the hip hop culture in a sense. That's kind of like where I found, breaking in different elements to kind of like make it short and sweet.
Word. I wanna start in the beginning. Uh, Actually, even before you started dancing, what kind of person were you before you got into the b-boying?
For me, like music and like just like instruments and sounds and just like, the classic oldies and like jazz and just different like original sounds and formats of where music came from was always in my household. From like Marvin Gaye, James Brown, like just like the classics, like dope stuff that we kind of just grow up as children, as what I mean, in our culture in a sense. So that was always around me. My big brother, he was like super heavy into like hip hop, like underground hip hop. So like I was always, in tune and knowing of like, certain, music genres and stuff like that. So that was already kind of embedded into my like bloodline. My first element was graph. I was a graffiti artist. Like that's like the first thing that like I was really like getting into when it came to elements, and I was always heavy into like music and stuff like that. So I started dabbling into graph. Then I started like messing with the whole like MC element as well. But then I found like breaking, breaking kind of like took me to a whole different like plateau. Like, my childhood friend, like his name was Kid Combo, like he was a nasty graffiti writer. We were like, I would say like middle school, bro. Like, I would even say like late elementary school, going into middle school. Like we were already like doing it. Like he introduced me to like the Denver scene, like where it was. Long story short, I ended up like getting into my first breaking crew, which like GWT, and they were super heavy, and they were probably like one of the best crews at the time in Denver, along with a lot of other crews like LOF and um, Full Circle, no Full Force, no Full Circle, my bad, Quick Steps crew.
Okay.
So there's a lot of like OG original like people that have been here, Asia One too as well. Like there's a lot of people that have like kind of came here like in the earlier years in the 90s and stuff in the sense that kind of gave a foundation here to kind of open up the portal to give people opportunities to go to Cali, to go to New York, to go to all these other places to kind of connect and open up that bridge and not just be local people who just break, or just do hip
Right.
hop and things. So that kind of like was one of those things that was really dope for the scene here because it kind of like we already kind of had like a little small like scenery of like all the elements growing, and so I kind of got with my first crew and then I ended up going to my first jam, which was B-Boy Summit. B-Boy Summit 2002 was like my first like jam, like my first like experience
Wow.
being in the scene. And obviously, I don't need to really talk about that too much. If you're part of the scene and you're part of the culture, you know what B-Boy Summit is. You know what I mean? But yeah, that was my first awakening of scene, and that was like honestly, I don't think people really realize how, B-Boy Summit has like kind of like had its like different waves. I feel like that particular time, 2002, was really really raw and really uncut because a lot of people were really like pushing the limits. There was multiple ciphers, all kinds of crazy stuff. So I got a really good glimpse of an experience of, just like this like little kid at like a candy shop. You know what I mean? Like, yo, there's all these like crazy dope cats. And so I took that all in. And what kind of like intrigued me a little bit, I mean, I noticed a lot of crews. This is the time, this was like, I mean, I even saw like, I think Circus. I think this was the first time I saw Circus, because I didn't see Freak Show at B-Boy Summit 2002. But I think I saw Circus, and they were like super weird. They were on some weird, like just different, you know what I mean, already. And like, even when I was in my original crew G-Dub, like I was like always different. Like I was always like, I always wanted to be on a different tip. I had a different style approach to what I wanted to do. My first background of picking up what I had was, my foundation and my power, so I got all that first, but I was always just like on a different tip. But Summit was like my first approach of seeing that difference. And so I came back to Colorado, and then I kind of just like started flipping shit. I started just flipping my whole mind, flipping my whole approach to things. And just like, the first time that we got a really, really good glimpse of like a crazy like epitome of what like the abstract style was when we went to AZ. I think there was a jam that they used to store at Scrappy's, I believe, is the place in AZ. And they used to hold a lot of jams, but I think it was called Beyond the Limits or something like that. It was some jam, but it was like a lot of like dope crews like PA, like Knuckleheads, like Sour Patch. Actually, not Knucklehead, Sour Patch. And there was a sick battle at the time, a sick exhibition at the time. I think it was Jack the Pumpkin King versus David. So that was like a really like a crazy experience to like kind of see like, yo, there's like levels to this, you know what I'm saying? Like there's levels to this, So, I just kind of just went on my own like journey, you know what I mean? Like I kind of went on my own journey.
That like era probably it predates me as far as Arizona, because I hit Arizona in 2005. So I don't even know if PA is even in Arizona anymore at this point. And and like all this epic stuff that you about to talk about, I probably just missed all that. But go ahead, man.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so like I don't know, it was just we like for me, like I don't think, especially speaking on today, because I've lived different eras of the culture, and I've still been a part of it actively on the front lines professionally, and just like the underground too, you know what I mean? So I've seen the change, and I've seen the growth, and I see where it is now, and I see where it used to be.
Right. Do you consider yourself like a rebel? Were you like a
Yeah, man,
rebellious
like
kid?
I mean, I was a trouble kid, dude. Like, I mean, I came from traumatizing like background, and like just a lot of like crazy stuff. So, I was a very angry kid, and which is crazy because a lot of my traumatizing like background came from Washington D.C., and that's when my mom moved us here. But the thing about with dealing with that, and I don't have a problem with talking about depression and things like that, because I think it's important. It shows that you've healed as a person, as a human. The thing about that, it creates a human being that if it's not nurtured, if it's not helped, if it's not guided, it rebels naturally. It's gonna like a bomb, like a ticking bomb. You know what I mean? Like, and my mother was a single mother, and she's a queen. You know what I mean? Like she's a queen, like she's a G. So, she had to make sure the lights were on. She had to make sure we had a roof over our head, and it was my sister, my brother as well. So, you know what I mean? Like it was a lot of us to be taken care of. So we were already trained to take care of ourselves, and so she expected us to go to school, do what we're supposed to do this and this, and not understanding that like there was still like some kind of like traumatizing with me. I was hurt still, I was dealing with things and stuff. So I was a rebel, bro. I was
And
a
the
straight
reason I
rebel.
asked that is because like I'm looking at like the movement that you were part of, and like we were talking about off cam, I call it the rebel style, because you guys are like, okay, this is what they're calling traditional. This is who we are. It was almost like almost like a fuck the establishment type movement. You know what I'm saying? Like in the dress, in the moves, in the foundation of the rebel style, everything was like almost like counterculture. We're gonna take everything that you say is important and we're gonna flip it on its head.
Yeah. And that just to piggyback off that a little bit. Yeah, man. Like, that's what, I mean, the definition of a rebel, you know what I mean? Think about it, like you're like an outlaw in a sense, like you're already looked at as like the villain in a sense, so, it's more of like, and it's crazy to speak on that because I think a lot of people don't realize, like a lot of people like to compare, circus and freak show and sour patch. Those are all different styles of, what you're saying, the rebel style, abstract style,
Okay.
Those are all different key ingredients of originators that have created something that have a different approach to it. You know,
Right.
like circus was like fuck the system for sure. You know what I mean? Like freak show, we're just like Freak Show versus the universe. It was just like it wasn't really necessarily fuck the system, but we were just like we didn't want to play your rules. You know, it
Right.
wasn't it, we don't want to play your rules. Fuck your rules. That's kind of what it was, you know. And then Sour Patch had a different approach too to it. You know, I just had a little like interview with PA too, and we talked and we sat down and chopped it up too in one of my episodes. So, you know, we were all similar, you know, but it was definitely a approach just to behind the fact of like just being ourselves and being free. Like you don't have to follow this direction just to be accepted. You know, sometimes you need to create your own lane and create your own direction, you know, and I
Right.
think even if you look back to the original format of like, you know, hip hop and the culture, like if you look at like how they used to dress, they were like rockers, like motorcycle jackets, like all, you know what I mean, patches,
Right.
like just like, you know what I mean, like the denim jeans, you know what I'm saying, like
Hmm.
boots, like they were just rugged. It was hard. It was like a, you know, warriors, you know what I'm saying, like
Right.
so for me, I always wanted to just keep that image. I think it's just a very, that's why like Freak Show, if you think about it, like we're just like a traveling circus, you know what I mean? We had all these different characters that would just jump out of a little car or a little bus or whatever else and just like start
Right.
dropping bombs. Like, you know, I remember Freakazoid wearing a tutu one time at a
Oh
jam, you know what I'm saying?
shit.
Like a straight tutu, bro. Like we didn't care, bro. Like we didn't
Right.
care. But you know, it was just one of those things where it was just like, yo, like we just wanted to show people that you can express yourself and you can do whatever you want. And it's okay to be free. It's okay to be creative. You know what I mean? And for us, it was just like a time where I felt like, you know, like, like hip hop was just like, it was too plain. It was just like too like, it wasn't fun no more. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Right.
man, like shit, there's all this other music. There's all this other shit we could tap into, you know? And then like, we started
Right.
just dabbling.
So do you are you guys like would you say does like punk rock influence or did it influence the style?
It's like punk rock, electronic music, you know, house, you know what I mean? Like, you know, a
Hmm.
lot of dubstep too, like original dubstep, like original, not really dubstep, like I would say drum and bass. Sorry.
Okay.
Let me correct. Not dubstep. Drum and bass. Drum and bass, you know, jungle,
Right.
you know what I mean? Because we went to a lot of parties, we went to like a lot of raves and a lot of like, you know, underground underground like sick music festivals and shows, and like we were really heavy into like not just breaking, but like art culture and music culture, you know. So we
Right.
would go to like Coachella, we would go to all these like different, you know, events and all these crazy like festivals to just like vibe out and just be on a different tip because we were like looking up to other people that are already doing it, you know, like cats
Hmm.
like Midas and like Rhythm Bugs and like, you know what I mean, like Remind and like all these other cats, like they were setting already a wave trend, you know what I mean? Because I think like even with the style that we created, like it's a hybrid off of like people that were already in the game, you know, like
Right.
from a lot of the 90s beat boys like Robzilla, you know, Exuberant, and like I mean, I'm just gonna name a few. I'm not gonna just be name bombing, but just to kind of give a little like insight of like, you know, we're not just people who just come and take things, and we're not just trying to claim and say we're just the king and like almighty. Like, yo, we get inspired too. Like we understand how it goes, you know, and like at the end of the day, no one's really a creator or anything because at the end of the day, at some point in time, someone's already done it, you know.
Right.
It's
So
just different generations of it, you know.
exactly. So did you guys when you're like finding that there's more expression in this rebel style, did that did you see limitations in what they were calling the foundational style? Like if if you ever tried to have you ever done like a traditional style? Did you come in just like, okay, I'm gonna do my top rock, go down, footwork, freeze?
Before, I mean, like I said, so I'm gonna go back a little bit. I wasn't officially down with Freak Show until 2004. We connected. We went to B Boy City. Was the first time that we battled together. Was at B Boy City, and that was all in the same year, I want to say. And we blew it up super hard. We made it to the next day, and at that time, I was repping with GWT because there was a few other GWT members at the time. It was a crew on crew, and we all met up in Texas for B Boy City. And so around that time we went up and we connected and we came hard, you know. And you know, Texas don't play. Like you come from out of town, another city, like you're getting called out by the whole city, the whole city. Like you're getting
Right.
called out by every county, and there's so many counties and out there, you know what I mean? So
Right.
we got a real awakening approach, and we came in hard, like we came in on some different, you know. And so we ended up, you know, making our first approach as that energy. And then B-Boy Hoedown came around, and you know, basically after B-Boy City, I got, you know, the pass by Boogie and Freak, like, yo, we want you down, like we want you to be down, like we want you Freak Show. You know what I'm saying? And so I was just like, I took it back to me. I took it back with me to Colorado, and I was like, all right, yo, like this is a different approach to really like, do I want to just do my own thing and like completely just try to go on my own, or do I want to connect with this new energy, and really, take this shit seriously and really do it? And so, I made that leap. I ended up meeting them again out in Texas for B-Boy Hold Down, and that's when that DVD came out, and that was like our epitome of like our awakening of like reforming Freak Show as this new energy, and like it was crazy, dude, because that shit was fucking raw as fuck, like all of Texas called us out: Havoc Coro, Vicious Germs, like all the sick Jive Turkey, like all the sick like original like Texas crews, man. Like they
Right. All the big names at that time, right?
like literally. I remember I think it was either Little John, someone, I don't know who it was. Dude, we didn't even walk in the jam yet, bro. Like this is real raw breaking. This is real shit.
Right.
Like people think that like just because you look this way or dress this way, like you're not part of this culture. Like no, bro. Like that's the thing about the culture. That's the thing about art. Like you should be different. Why the fuck do I want to look like you? Like why do I want to look like you? You shouldn't want to look like me. You should be your own identity,
Right.
And so before you even walked in the jam, dude, like we already got called out. We got called out in the line. Like
Damn.
we didn't even have a chance to warm up. We had to go straight in. All right, cool. You're talking about hundreds of people coming at you, before the battle started. So we had to pop it off like that, and we had to really just show people that Freak Show don't fuck around, And so
Right.
that was kind of like, it was like one of those like what up? What, we're gonna break you in real quick. We're gonna welcome to Texas, basically. You know what I mean? And
Right.
like, you got to show love to that. You know what I mean? And it's nothing but love to all those crews. You know what I'm saying? We got mad love. I got mad respect for those guys. Because we got to push each other, and that's the rawness behind what we do.
And I'm sure that my bad. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was about to say I'm sure that because you said you got to respect it. I'm sure that you guys left with the respect of the building by the end of the day. After going through all those call outs, like whether you look different, break different, they didn't give a shit. At that point, these some real B-boys, and you know what I'm saying? They raw. You know what I'm saying? And they represent, they stand for something.
Yeah, man. So yeah, so around that time, and then we ended up battling to have a Coro and for our prelims to even get in the jam, and so it was just like ba 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 ba, So it was dope, and I think that like a lot of people don't realize too that like we are battle heads, like we're raw battle heads. You know what I mean? We could sit there and practice and work on moves all day and build sets, but if you can't do it in a battle, like get that shit out of here. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so we were focused literally on blowing you the fuck up and like really coming at you hard. We didn't give a fuck if we crashed. We didn't give a fuck about anything. We just wanted to make a point that like we gonna end your career type shit, and like
Right.
that's kind of the whole approach around it, because it like a scene that kind of like in a sense kind of like shuns you, or pushes you away or doesn't like accept you, because it was literally about acceptance at the end of the day. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like accepting that you can be different and still be considered a b-boy or a b-girl or whatever terminology that we want to use to define who we are in a sense, right?
Right.
So it was more of an emphasis of just like we wanted people to respect us, and we weren't getting that respect. And so what does that create? It creates a wild animal. It
Resentment.
creates a person that just is going to continue to fight, right? Or either give up and just go a different way. We were young and we wanted that. We wanted that feel. We wanted that approach. Like, okay, like you don't like us. Okay, you're really not gonna like us now. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like what it was. You know what I mean? Because again, you're creating this. Because
Mhm.
we love this so much too. We want to be a part of it too. But every time we try to be a part of it and connect with it, we get hated on, or we get robbed, or because we're not dressing a certain way or approaching it a certain way, we are not what you are.
Right.
Because at the end of the
Now,
day, my bad. I'll stop right there.
no, man, you letting it flow. It's just like a conversation. You know what I'm saying? So don't. Yeah. But I was gonna say, it's funny because hip hop is supposed to be, so many people, they're always like, hip hop is about love and acceptance. And the second you guys stepped out there, you know what I'm saying? Some people had painted faces, definitely different styles of clothes, different foundation, different styles of move. All that acceptance and love, and we supposed to all be together, just went out the door, and everybody was just like, oh, y'all ain't real, y'all ain't this, y'all ain't that. And my question would be like, well, you kind of answered it. The response, right, was I guess just to toughen up and say, well, we here to stay.
But the thing but see, just saying here to stay is too simple, right? Like here to stay meaning like we went into the lab, we trained,
Hmm.
We put in hours and hours and hours and hours of training. That's what people don't realize. Like, yeah, we popped out all weird. Like, we trained, bro. Like, we were really training professionally, athletically, already before anyone was.
Hmm.
Us, Circus, Sour Patch, we were like the first abstract crews to get flown out international across the world, bro. Like, to do this style. No one else was doing that shit in the early 2000s for sure.
Right.
Like not on the underground tip, not on that tip, not on that wavelength. I can't speak for Rock's Riding, Reveal and all the other like hitters, what I'm saying? Like they've been in the game for a minute, so they were already traveling, they're already paving the way for certain things, but there was also other styles and other creators from the breaking culture that were
Hmm.
also paving the way and giving a plateau for different styles all over the world. You know what I
Right.
mean? And people have to respect that and recognize it. And if you don't, then like that's crazy to me. So for us, it was like, all right, yo, like you're going to respect us because not only are we going to go back and train, we're going to study. So we went back and we would study, pose philosophies like, alienness, like, even like Crazy Legs and like Ken Swift. Like we went and studied. We went and studied. We got blessed by Frosty Freeze. Frosty Freeze was like my like I would consider like a mentor to me in a sense, because he was like on my wavelength. He felt my energy before he passed away. A lot of people don't even know this. It's crazy what kind of energies you come in contact with when you move.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of people that have blessed, our crew and us, a lot of OG people, a lot of OG pioneers, you know what I'm saying? So it's
Right.
like, but I'm not sitting here trying to like, we were never those people to reach out for that. We weren't trying to necessarily get your acceptance, but we wanted to have you respect us and
Right.
understand that we're not trying to change anything. We just want to do it differently with ourselves and our own bodies. Like we're not trying, like how is me dressing different, coming to the jam, doing some different shit affecting the event or affecting the way that, you know what I mean? If anything, you should be like,
Right.
yo, oh shit, what? Oh, what the fuck? Like, yo, that's great. You know what I mean? Like, vice versa. I should be on that same tip. Like, yo, this is different. Like, because I love traditionalism. You know what I mean? I love, music. I love foundation. I love
Right.
footwork. I love flows. I love transitions.
Right. Do you think it's limited?
So that's why I was gonna get into that. So you're speaking to Raw Skeleton like a evolved version of Raw Skeleton. You know what I mean? Like you're speaking to Raw Skeleton.
Yeah, but before you get into that, man, that was actually something I was going to touch on because, like, if you look at Raw Skeleton, I'm gonna say from about, and this is just like from observation, about 4 years ago, moving forward, the clothes have changed a little bit. The lot more top rock, a lot more into the music, but still raw with the crazy stuff that's just like, how the did he do that? You know what I'm saying? But go ahead and speak on it, man.
Yeah, I mean, there isn't a limits. You know what I mean? Like I'm just gonna, for me, like, and even like my crew, like I think that's why we work so good together, and that's why we're so like such a sick unit. Even till this day, that's why we're a sick unit, and this is why I'm able to pass on, my inspirations and our philosophies to the next generation in the freak show, and let them do it their way, because I learned that in your practice that you can't control nobody, you know what I mean? And even when you start to create a crew or create whatever else, like, when you start to deal with different age groups, you're going to deal with different generations, and so when you were moving this way with this generation of people are not gonna, they're not gonna move that same way. They can't. There's no way. So, the way, for example, so the way that, you know, I'll say the four killers. Like we were the four killers. This is the four killers right here. Boogeyman, Freakazoid, myself, and Mirage. These are the four killers of the Freak Show. Right? We're the ones that really made Freak Show what it is today, even still. Like we're the ones that took our name, took our style, took everything that we had, blood, sweat, and tears, fucking sleeping in a little ass room together, like just doing this shit, like full time, like type shit, like and taking it on a global standpoint and making the world respect us, for our style, not because oh he has a dope power variation, or he has dope 90s, or you know what I mean? It was like yo, like that's Freak Show, like these fools are don't fuck with those fools, you know what I'm saying? So
Right.
that was a four killer influence, right? And we bring in the golden child. The golden child was Little Sin, right? This little beast right here, he was influenced by all of the four killers, so he had Raw Skeleton, he had Freakazoid, he had Boogeyman, and he had Mirage's energy, you know what I mean? So
Mm.
that created a whole different type of, like we played that Dragon Ball Z type of like game, you know what I mean? We were all into video games, we were all into that kind of like mentality. So we were just trying to level up, and we looked at it as like that kind of like mentality. You know what I mean? Like whatever next generation that we bring in, they can't just be their own entity. They got to have this energy, this energy, this energy, this energy, this energy, because then it's going to create a whole different beast. You know, so he was already setting a way for something totally different. You know, and so that kind of like was the format of that. You know, and we always had the philosophy of like there is no limits. You have to go beyond the limits. Once you start to create in your mind that you're limitless to whatever you're trying to do, then you get lost. You're just going to get stuck at a plateau. You know, so we would just try different things. You know, like we would try to highlight each person's specialty, right? And try to formulate a awkward way to get in it or out of it, to already set your mind up and set your body up for something like, oh, this is weird, I ain't trying to do this, but you do it anyways, and then it starts to naturally create this formality in your body. You know what I mean? We were all about energy. We're all about connection, and really, it wasn't just like do a move. It was like we had to analyze every little thing we did.
So what was your specialty?
Obviously my specialty was, well, still to this day, flexibility. And I am one of the creators behind the Power Flexi. You know what I mean? Like being able to mix your flexibility with your power moves. You know what I mean? That flexi. I'm also a free specialist too. But overall, I would just say movement, bro. Like straight up, like I think like movement's my specialty. Rather if it's being upside down or if it's being on your back, if it's being on your arm, whatever. Like I could twist your mind in so many different ways. So, but I've also grown. But in the beginning stages, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people recognize my specialty point in the beginning stages of Freakshow and Raw Skeleton is, very powerful and explosive with flexibility. You know what I mean? I mean, if you go back to all my exhibitions and all my battles, like I'm doing super crazy, like hardcore flexies into bombs, into, power into transitions and stuff. So overall, yeah, just, I like to go big, you know what I mean? However you get it, for sure.
Now you touched a little bit on the history of the style, um, and it would be dope if you can like kind of break down the history of the style and talk about like I want to know who was pushing it in the beginning and who do you think is pushing the style now, like pushing the limits of the style where you watch him and you like, yeah, that kid's official.
So for me, I'm only gonna speak on what I've seen and where I come from and my standpoint.
Right.
Originally, overall, if you really are familiar with, this culture and this dance and this style particularly, in my perspective, it came from Arizona originally, from Sour Patch, like Tosh and like We Wum. A lot of those guys, they were like doing, homework. A lot of guys were just on some like just uh different wavelengths of like movements and stuff like that, and then for me, I saw like PA and like Nomac and like these cats like that, you know what I mean? Because that was like the epitome of like, and for me, who like kind of really developed it first, you know what I mean? Like really, really developed it and like took it onto a whole different wavelength. And then right after that, behind that, rising up, was Circus, you know what I'm saying? And they were always like going head and head because, there was always that inside beef, how what things happen, you end up, being building with one entity, one energy,
Right.
you start mixing your ingredients, and then this person wants to go this way, vice versa. It's just natural things that happen. We all go through this shit, So
Right.
I think something with that energy got like, shifted, it got shifted. And so they all ended up going in individual ways in a sense. And they all still created their own entities of that style, and it was really getting pushed, and, obviously Freak Show too, but when people speak on behalf of like things like this, I don't like to just be all like me, 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 me. I like to like really give really good insight of like how it really goes down. You know what I mean? And we always try to set ourselves aside from, Sour Patch and Circus. That's why I'm speaking in this manner. It wasn't like we weren't right there with them. It was just like, I think a lot of people were always just like, this is the Circus style. Like we honestly didn't really like to be called the Circus style. You know what I mean? Like we were freaks. Like we wanted to be considered freaks. Like we were all about everything, conforming everything. So originally that's kind of where I kind of feel that it was kind of really birthed, in the early 2000s, you know what I mean? Like obviously Circus, Freak Show, we were like really, really big on like battling at like the underground jams. I want to say Utmost, bro. Like Utmost was like, if it wasn't for Utmost, you know what I mean? Like he was the one that really like started like bringing the new school, you know what I mean, to highlight. to
Mm-hmm.
give this style of opportunity from like unsigned hypes based on a true story. Just to name a few. I don't want to be dropping too many bombs. You got to go do your own man. And just to name a few, and again, there was also other crews that were like awakening that were hybrids from that, like, who else? In the Cycle, Lost Tribe. And I'm just speaking on a little bit of like the West Coast side of things. I mean, there was obviously like other crews from Texas too, you know what I mean? Like that were on this like new school style as well,
Right.
abstract style. But I'm just kind of speaking on the West Coast history because that's kind of where I
Right.
was raised. And that's what a lot of people don't realize either too, because I moved from Colorado to the West Coast for with my crew, you know what I mean, to really push it, to push the limit. So I
Right.
moved and I lived in Cali pretty much my whole career, my whole existence, bro. Like I'm a West Coast Cali head at the end of the day. Like
Mm-hmm.
for sure. Like that's always like my heart, and my crew's still there too. But you have to evolve too. You gotta like plant seeds everywhere. You gotta move, you gotta do things, so just kind of want an insight on that. But yeah, basically like, like the West Coast was just like it was just on a different tip, and like Utmost was really, kind of pushing that like highlight of things, birthing that seed, to give, the new school like that opportunity, and so it awaked a lot of different like formalities of things, and then later on, I think Eric is his name. He started throwing trigonometry. Trigonometry was like one of the other jams that kind of like would highlight, the abstract style, but it wasn't just the abstract style because it had like, people from all over. Like it had Charles from, Vicious Germs.
Right.
And he's like a straight powerhead. You know what I mean? They even had Crisis too. Rest in peace to Crisis. Like he was even one of the invites too as well. Powerhead, Crazy Head. So it kind of like it wasn't necessarily just for the abstract style. It was like it was for like people that were just on a new school tip, like blow ups, tricks, hard, like just aggressive, but also to like have similarities to comparison to each other. There's a lot of like points of spurts, you know what I mean, of this style, but it was just really like it was an era really. I mean, it was like from the early 2000s all the way to like I want to say like 2009. 2009, 2010 is when it started to kind of slowly started like to take a shift, right?
Right.
And the only crew, like real talk, dude, like, and if people want to call me out on this shit, you can call me out. I'll battle you any day of the week. Like in the USA, like in the USA, like in the
Right.
USA, like straight up in the USA, like free show, like we were the only crew that kept going with this style, that kept battling, and particularly myself, like I keep my crew alive every day. Like I'm still active, I'm still battling, I'm still ready to do it. You know what I mean? So it was like a lot of crews started dying, but there was a lot of like little placebos and a lot of little upcoming like youngsters from Cali and like from all over that were like still inspired, that were still like coming up on that style too. But as for like the main crews, like I mean the style just kind of like died for itself because I feel like just people go through their personal shit, their personal lives. So and
Right.
then change, and the only other person that I honestly will give it up to is Thesis. Thesis is the only other person like from the USA that really like really still uses that style. He might not consider himself that, you know what I mean? Like he is his own person, he's his own energy, but I think
Right.
like out of anyone from that era that comes from that like that era, that timeline of like where it really came from in the USA, like I'll speak a little bit on the international because there needs to be like there needs to be an understanding too, you know what I mean? So as for the USA, I think like he's the only other person that took it on a global worldwide level, and really stayed, like real and true, to like really understanding the culture and the dance and like, like his energy, his presence too, it's like it's dope, you know what I'm saying? So I think I can't really go outside of that line because again, you're asking me from like an original standpoint. I can't speak on today's standpoint. Like I feel like today, right, there's a lot of people that are doing this style, that are doing this new school blow up style, but it's so easy, right? The formula is so like set up for you to be this superhuman in a sense, and not really have an insight of what you're really doing. So you lose like the context behind like the whole style, like the whole originality, of what makes you you by using this style,
Right.
So for me, I think it's evolved. It's evolved into a whole plateau, like right now, in my perspective, I think like Russia's on some different shit, like for sure. Russia, like Ukraine, like they're on some different shit, like Korea, Japan too, you know what I mean? And even like, like Middle Eastern parts of the world, like, just on the international standpoint, like I think they figured it out into a point to where they know what it takes to, be the best. And I think it's also your mental, because if you think about like how we're raised in America, we have everything put at us. We have technology, we can go eat, we can do all these things. And I'm speaking again, this is before what we are in now, right? Where this is before we're in now. So, you can just, take a flight here and there. You were just able to just do whatever you wanted, you know what I'm saying? So you're not really able to really focus unless you really had that really like sense to like really wind yourself down to like really accomplish something, because you have so much to do. Rather, when you grow up in a different country or a different place where it's just very small, you have a very more focus and a very more like delicacy to what you're trying to approach. So your advanced technology as yourself, rather if you approach it in an athletic performance or even artistic performance, it's going to be a whole different level. So I think it's definitely evolved, bro. Like it's evolved, but not a lot. People don't use those terminologies. People are not rebels anymore. People are not like these things. You know what I mean? Like I'm the only person that's really like pushing this style. Like originally, like I mean, I have it's my company. Like if you really want to go deep on knowing the history of the abstract styles, just check out tricksandblows.com. You know what I mean? It has the full insight of what we're doing and what the history is behind this movement. But again, it's like I'm not trying to like sit here and uh, be a has been and be someone that's just telling stories about what used to be. Like I'm literally doing this to make people recognize that this style needs to be recognized in the breaking culture and the art culture worldwide. You know what I mean? So it has a different approach. You know what I mean? So when you sit down and you break down philosophies behind techniques and breaking and styles and people who created this and this, like, okay, this style, okay, this crew, this person, it comes on their line too, just like everyone else gets praised. But the only way you can do that is by creating your own lane. You know what I mean? But you have to be knowledgeable. You have to understand what you're doing. And so that's basically the whole format here. You know what I mean? Like, I just think that like that's what it is. You know what I mean? Like the USA format of what we do is so much different than the format when you compare it to like an international standpoint. You know what I mean? I can't really speak, for anything other than where I'm living and what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying?
You're obviously talented, right? Anybody who's seen Raw Skeleton break, they know he knows how to dance. He has crazy transitions. He has the flexibility that you can't just like turn on YouTube and be like, I'm just gonna copy that, right? Now, you spent a lot of time. We talked about it earlier. You spent a lot of time fighting for the respect. Do you think that you would have made it farther in breaking? Because you've been overseas, you've been around the country, you've been around the world. But do you think that you would be a bigger name if you just said, you know what, I'm just going to conform to the traditional style. I'm just going to look like YouTube. I got the skill, so I'll be able to do it on a high level, and people will just love me from the outset.
Yeah, that's dope. So this is I love this. This is let me explain some things to you so the world can really understand how this shit works, right? So in life, right? You got your life, right? And you got your hobbies. You got your you know what I mean? Like a competition is a competition at the end of the day. This is the thing, right? Right. My name is big, bro. Like my name is recognizable. Like you can Google Raw Skeleton, right? You can Google me. If you put in Google and put in Raw Skeleton, I'll pop up. Right. In my aspect, I think that a person has done a lot of work to even get to that point, right? Your numbers and your views, right? We're based off of a social media world,
Right.
right? And it's based off of how you promote yourself, right? I don't need to promote myself in that way to build 2K, 20K, 30K, 40K, 50K. Like I don't give a fuck. Like I don't care. Like I can care less, right? My thing is like when you leave that floor, when you leave practice, right? You leave practice, you leave that jam, right? You won that money, right? You travel to that country. What the fuck are you going back to though? What the fuck are you going back to? Right?
That's a great
I've
question.
created not only a brand, not only a style, not only a name for myself, but a way of living, right? So I've been able to continue this lifestyle my whole life. I wake up doing what I love, right? I wake up to create. I wake up to train, to prepare myself. I have my own company. I do me. I work with a dope company, School of Breaking, and like we're doing big things. We're innovating and we're taking a whole new approach to breaking and teaching itself, right? So I've placed myself in a way where this is where the actual word professional comes into play, right? This is a professional, right? A professional is someone who makes a living doing what they love to do and they do it on a day-to-day basis, right? So I'm a professional, right? I don't need to boost my ego. I don't need to post all this shit to clarify my standpoint. At the end of the day, when I go to battle, it's a jam, right? But again, this is the thing. This is you're talking now to evolve Raw Skeleton. You're not talking to Raw Skeleton 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 ago. This is evolve Raw Skeleton because
Right.
I've learned that you have to build something off of yourself. You have to build interest off of yourself, right? Because you're gonna get older. Your bones are gonna hurt. You're not gonna be able to move the same way. Every once you get to a champion level, the next champion's right behind you. I've had a champion spot. I've won championship battles. My crew has won championship jams. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Some of the biggest. You know what I'm saying? But then again, it's like that's just at that one time. You're only a champion for that one moment. Once that jam's over, you're no longer a champion. And people get the wrong epitome of what a champion is. Like I just it's crazy to me. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes, so you know, I don't necessarily feel like I'm not as big as like all these names that you see. It's just how they're getting, you know, marketed, and it's what they follow. You know what I mean? Like, if you get branded by Monster or Red Bull, I mean, of course they have a whole, $1 million like background to like boost you and make you feel that you're this person,
Right.
and like the culture is so different because people don't take the time to get their history. They don't take time to go back to like really look at shit, and you don't have to no more. You know what I mean? So I just figure like, fuck the bullshit. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna train hard as fuck and I'm gonna go get this jam. But instead of fucking living my whole life, like paycheck to paycheck, to travel somewhere with no fucking money, paying for my own fucking hotel, my own fucking shit, and then not even coming out on top, and then going back to nothing, you lost, my friend. You lost. Like you ain't get the fuck out of here. So um, to just speak back on that, bro, like I feel like I am who I'm meant to be. I'm where I'm meant to be. I'm content with this shit, and people are gonna follow what they choose to follow. You know what I mean? I'm just a real person, dude. Like, and that's what people don't get. Like when you talk to, like, if you speak to me, like I'm gonna speak from my heart. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna give you some fake plastic shit. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
I'm a
Right.
very like peaceful person now. I'm organic free. I'm a vegan, gluten free out here. You know what I'm saying? I practice like a different life form right now. So again, this is Evolve Skeleton. It took me a while to get to this level.
No doubt.
So I feel that like going back to what you said, like being a big name or all this and this, like instead of me focusing on trying to get big sponsorships and being the face of all these events, I was trying to create my own business, my own entity. I took
Right.
all that knowledge, bro, like going to jams, seeing how these promoters work in the back scene, seeing how they, work their money or work their financials, because everything has money behind it. Everything has a form of fashion. You know what I'm saying? Like everything has a place. You know what I mean? So instead of just being that person that just went to the jam to blow people up and win and all this, it got to a point where I had to do more. I had to do more for myself. I had to do more for my crew. I had to do more if I wanted to continue this lifestyle that I wanted to make for myself. So I started just knowledging myself, like just really knowledging myself, studying and doing other things to kind of like use my art to my advantage, to create different lanes for myself, and so now I'm not just recognized in one circle. You know what I'm saying? People don't just know Raw Skeleton as a b-boy. It's like I've been able to create Raw Skeleton to be a very open energy to accept everything and to share a lot of different like energies in the sense. So I don't really necessarily care about numbers. You know what I'm saying? Because I think that's what everything's based off of now. Like when you see all these like highlights and all this stuff, like you go back to their page, like they're like running 40K, 50K, 100K. You know what I'm saying? Like if I really wanted to do that, like anyone can do that, but that's not really my focus. I'm a very organic person, and there's obviously certain ways you have to move and certain things that you have to do, obviously to do your thing, but I'm actually making a living for myself. So for me, I feel like I'm winning already. If you're just a poster boy to someone, because again, a lot of people get things confused because just because you win championships and just because you are winning events doesn't mean you're able to pay your bills, doesn't mean you're able to take care of yourself, doesn't mean you can feed yourself. I've been flown out to many jams all over the world and I've spent all my money on my travel and came back to nothing. That's even after winning the jam. That's even after, getting flown out. That's even after getting things, getting stipends, for food and rides and stuff like that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I even still lost. It doesn't add up, so
Now, what would you say are some big moments along your journey, and even what are some big moments along the journey of the style that you use. Like, what are some big moments where the what I'm calling rebel style like took the forefront and everybody's like, damn, that was dope. And then some of your personal big moments.
The first time we got flown out to France, like when we battled Insane Prototypes, you know, and Rubber Legs, and then like that was, I mean, now we're gonna go into like to really really understanding like there's levels to this shit, and people need to understand like who created what and what created what. You know what I'm saying? So at this time, like Freakshow was the hardest coming out of the game, you know, and Circus too, because Circus was out there too, because it was the Jam Temple of Style, 2006. You can find it on YouTube too. You know, like it's definitely a historic battle. I think that really like that exhibition, that battle, right? Like you had, you know, Europe versus, you know, USA doing this style on the big stage, because this was the highlight. Everyone was there for that. There was also a crew on crew, and there was also like invited one-on-ones too. Like all the best of the best from all over the world were there. You know what I mean? So you're dealing with like high collaborative shit. You know what I mean? Ain't nobody fucking around. Everyone's ready to fucking get there. So now you're dealing with different countries, you know? So now you're not only just experiencing like your crew and like just you're dealing with different countries and different cultures, and like, and they're just united as one. And this person's united, you know what I mean? It's crazy. You know what I mean? It's like a bunch of lions in a den, you know, which lion's gonna come out on top, right?
Right.
So I feel like that battle right there, it really was like, it was like the epitome of really showing the world like this is a new world coming, a new approach coming. Like that battle changed the game. Like it changed. You can't tell me not, because it led up to everything that we're doing today. Because even in those countries, like it like birthed a lot of like all these little baby like boomers, you know what I'm saying? Literally coming out of the woodworks, doing air flares out of their fucking beds and shit, you know, at fucking 4 to 5 years old and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like it literally birthed that shit. You know what I mean? Like it really took that whole energy and really emphasized on like, damn, like there's levels to this shit. Like, and I always say that because, you know, some people don't really understand, like when you say there's levels to this shit, and I don't mean like going up and down, going up and down. Like, no, there's levels to this shit. Like there's high level, there's low level, there's all these different levels, right? And so we gotta experience that, you know, and like now you're getting put the top of the top, you know, because this is like to get invited, you know, out of the country, you know, you're starting to get to a different level. You know what I mean? Like once you start to get invited and go overseas, you know, because the one thing about, you know, the international standpoint, even from the get-go, they were already throwing big events. They were already filling out, you know, arenas. You know, when we went to France, dude, when we went to Temple of Style, like that whole stadium was full with thousands of people. It was like we were at like a basketball like game. You know what I mean? And so you're put on this front stage, you're already put on these like big stages already, you know, so it creates a different beast, and you have to approach the battle differently because you got all this space now. You're like on a stage, it's like you're performing, you know what I mean? So, you know, that battle changed a lot because a lot of people shunned us, dude. Like we came out and like all of France booed us, you know, we like people were throwing shit at us and shit when we came out to battle a bunch. Yeah, dude, they booed us. They're like, fuck you Americans. Like the world hated us, you know, because America already had a bad rep, you know what I'm saying? Right. And now we come out like some fucking dirty little punk kids and shit, you know, ready to fucking just do dirt, you know what I mean? And so, right. You know, our first experience with France was just not good. And on top of that, dude, the promoters left us at the fucking airport for fucking 10 hours, dude. 10 fucking hours, bro. We were stuck at the airport when we first flew in. Wow. You know, 10 hours, dude. So, you know, you're dealing with fucking shady ass promoters, your first experience being out international. Like, no one picked you fucking up. Like, the homies from Animaniacs, actually, you know, Ted and like Go-Go and like fucking the homies from France, like, hella like came through, dude, and took care of us, dude. Like, they picked us up and they got us to the hotel where the promoter set up for all the b-boys and shit. And it was crazy because they put us in the room with like Rubber Legs and like a few b-boys from USA, Law, Josh, like a lot of people that got invited from USA. We were all in this like little ass fucking weird ass little fucking dormitory almost, like, dude, like in this fucking and I almost got into a fight with Rubber Legs, dude. Like we almost got into it, you know. Like that fool was talking shit, you know what I mean? Like real talk. Like he was just running his lit. You know, and that's what it was. Like, think about it. Like, the game was crazy. Like, that's what people don't realize. You know, there's like, like fools are talking shit. Like, we really were ready to just like go in. Like, it was like you really had to train. Like, right. You gonna talk some shit, you better be fucking ready to battle. Like, cause this ain't no fun and games no more. You know what I mean? Right. So we really like we were really about that life, and it's mad respect to them too, mad respect to Rebel, mad respect to, Terror Bunch and all them, like moving on, I've evolved, you know what I mean? Like I don't have no grudges to nobody and shit, just I'm just speaking on history and artifacts. Like we really didn't like each other, because it was like they they created what they created from where they came from, so obviously when you're born, right, like they never really seen us. Like it was like kind of like later on, like as shit started to move, we started to kind of like, all right, damn, other fools are doing our shit, and then they probably felt the same way, you know what I'm saying? Like later on,
Right.
and so it becomes this like, who did it first? Who did it fucking first? And so that's why we ended up battling. It was like
Wait.
best from USA with this style versus the best from Europe. You know what I'm saying?
So
Like they were from like Germany and shit.
right. So they were claiming to organically have created that style on their own.
Yeah, I mean, Solid Gin and the fucking originally the battle was supposed to be Solid Gin versus Freakazoid. That was the battle. Like that was supposed to be the battle because Solid Gin was fucking literally biting Geo's fucking elbow tip spins, all of his elbow tip shit. You cannot tell me not. Like he was fucking already doing fucking 12, 20 fucking elbow tip spin, Lotus elbow tip spins, like hopping elbow tip spins. He was already fucking jump up Lotus elbow tip spin. Like he was already on the tip. So it was like the
Right.
battle of the elbow tips. You know what I'm saying? And like Solid
Right.
Jim was obviously innovating some shit. He had some dope stuff. He had some, innovator stuff too. But there was a lot of things that was very similar to Freakazoid, and I think that was the thing, and
Hmm.
I think, vice versa come from that side. They were like, this was biting my shit. Like Freakazoid's biting my shit. This, you know what I mean? So it just became this energy. And so Temple of Style was like, already a big jam at the time. And this was like when they were doing like style 2 off .com and like fucking what else was it? bboyworld.com. Like there was a bunch of like just underground like sites where you could find this battle. But now you could just find it on YouTube. But like basically, yeah, dude, it was like one of those things, dude. Like it was just one of those things of like that was supposed to be the battle, but then it ended up turning to be a crew battle because it was like we're like, fuck that shit. I want to battle this fool. You know what I mean? I got this fool. I want this fool. And so the four killers, that's where the four killers were created. Like the four killers were created in France because me, Freakazoid, Boogeyman, and Mirage, we kind of took like a freak show oath, you know what I'm saying? Like we were like our first time going overseas and shit, we're just like brotherhood, you know what I'm saying? Like we're just like no matter what, like we ain't gonna let nothing happen to us. We're just gonna fucking take care of each other, you know what I'm saying? So just what crew do,
Right.
because we were taking this first experience to like all over a whole different world, bro. Like it was just like very, very like very intense for us, And then like we went into already going into something where it was very negative because like even the people from like our country, from USA, we kind of felt like they were against us too, So here we are again, here we are again into the same metaphor and the same standpoint where our style is still not getting accepted, but the style that we kind of all created together, they're all moving together, but then we're all here in this own way. So it creates another beast, dude. So we have to go in there like fucking rebels, ready to fucking cut and fucking stab. Like we're ready to fight. We're ready to
Love
fucking
it.
drop bombs. We were ready for anything. We were ready for whatever what was gonna happen, But we were ready to battle. And I think the thing about it was like we were really, really like myself. I was really, really like really angry in that battle. Like I trained so hard. Like I trained super, super hard for that battle. Like crazy, crazy hard. But the thing about your anger can get the best of you. You know what I'm saying? And I think that battle really changed me too, and like my approach. And that's kind of like why I started to like dabble into a different way of like using my movements and shit because it kind of just like it put me on a mental block, and I had to like go back and like really like reassess myself and like really like level up even more.
No doubt.
But yeah, dude, I think that 2006, that battle in France, like that kind of really changed a lot of things.
So a couple last things is definitely want to talk about. I've you said you have a fashion brand now.
It's not really like, well, I was messing around with like a lot of like gear and clothes. So I basically
Okay.
just like my company, I have a lot of product, and so I print a lot of like tricks and blow stuff. So I do like
Okay.
little dad hats and like shirts and stuff like that, the sort hoodies and stuff like that. It's a lot of like promo stuff. I don't really focus on like clothing apparel as much, but I do
Okay.
have, product that I do push, for kind of highlight myself and highlight my brand and what I'm doing.
No
For the
doubt.
most part, like tricks and blows is like, it's a movement, to kind of like build and help like, b-boys and b-girls, to step outside of the norm, you know what I mean, on a competitive
Hmm.
level that really want to take their competitive breaking to a higher level in the breaking world, to kind of like really coach and mentor and show my level of what I've done in the dance. You see all these other teachers and all these other people that are kind of pushing these philosophies, but who else is really pushing our history and our story, and
Right.
like who else is really doing it. So I'm kind of like on the front lines of doing that, as well as like dabbling into other art forms. The project that I did today, the workshop that I did today was called the Body Art Project.
Okay.
And it basically is a very creative project that focuses on like you learning your movement, learning how to use your ability, getting in uncomfortable positions and learning how to get out of those positions into other positions, building your upper body strength and your conditioning and all that good stuff. So I'm just doing a lot of different things with my art. You know what I mean? That's kind of like the whole focus. Like that's my brand. My brand is my art. And that's my the way that I create, the way that I teach and mentor and do these things, and I kind of just build it into one like entity of a business in a sense. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like the brand right there. I was throwing events. I have a few events that I throw. Too Fresh, Too Raw is one of my events that I run and I throw. And it was a collaboration piece that I did with Fresh from LA Breakers from LA.
Oh yeah, 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 for
Kind of
sure.
like we collaborated on this idea, and it was birthed. The first time we did it was in San Diego, and we did the second version last year. Was it last year? I think, yeah, last year. No, 2 years ago. We did it out
Mm.
here in Colorado. Was the second one. And so, I'm definitely pushing in those formats. I'm trying to just do a little bit of everything, but I just really want to just kind of just, offer a different type of a practice, for the world, to kind of like take the time to like get more creative and get back into that frame of just like changing your mind frame on things. Because, like if you were a competitive, dancer or artist, or if you did anything of the sort where you're obviously on the front lines of things, that's kind of came to a halt, right? So it's like, what are you training for? Like, what are you pushing for? Like my practice is literally to help people to get back into their practice, get back into their comfort zone, get back into their whatever they were inspired, so they can continue to keep this energy going. So hopefully, maybe what I'm doing, you coming into build with me, maybe you create something that you build that maybe brings me into your energy or my people into your energy. So now we're all
Right.
creating this whole new world, this whole new universe, because, as an artist, you like, when I say artist, I don't just think of dancer, it's like a, filmmaker, like a videographer, you know what I mean? Like, whatever lane you're in, like, it's just, don't stop creating, so that's
Right.
kind of like the emphasis of what Tricks and Blows is right now, bro. Like, it's really like just a whole different world, it's like, it's not a world where you're like forced to like, this is it, this is the way it's supposed to be. Even like breaking down the philosophy behind, the abstract style and like what we kind of created to. I'm not trying to like, again, I'm not trying to be like taking claims on shit. I'm just trying to speak our story.
Right.
Trying to tell Freakshow's perspective and like, yo, we're creators too, and like what we did like changes the game. You can't deny that shit. And so, even with us losing a crew member, you know what I mean. Rest in peace to my bro, Little Sin. What I'm saying, like, it's
How
my
did,
duty.
how did that affect the crew? Because that, like I told you, I only had the one interaction with him when you guys came out to Arizona, but as so I only knew him from what I saw as a dancer, and he was definitely dope. He was raw. He had a battle attitude and all that stuff. He had big moves and big personality. How did that affect the crew and you personally in your journey with the dance and with Freak Show?
Dude, I deal with it every day, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, every day I deal with it. It's hard. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all wanted the best for our bro, and like, and it's just kind of like you can only do so much sometimes. You can only do so much, and you gotta let people be themselves to figure it out sometimes, especially when you get to an adult age. Unfortunately for Sin, the good and the bad, like, we raised him, like the Freak Show raised Little Sin, you know what I'm saying? Like, his parents pretty much gave gave us to him, you know what I mean? They're like, here's your son, like, take it, you know what I mean? Like,
Wow.
but we had him from a young age, and like it was at a time where we were young too, and we were like exploring and like partying and going out and just, doing all kinds of crazy stuff that you do at a young age. You're trying to live, you're trying to do things, so he was in it with us, it's like, like the little brother that just can get into everything. You know what I
Right,
mean? Like,
right,
how it goes, bro. So,
right,
as you grow too, you grow and you start to get more aware of things. You start to know, like, this is right, this is wrong. If I do too much of this is going to affect my body. If I do too much of this, like, Sin just always had that ability of like true limitless, like true, like, no, sorry, true no limits. You know what I mean? Like,
right,
no limits. Like, he's gonna go far and beyond.
right,
And whatever it is, breaking, like, you got air chairs. I'm gonna do it this way on you. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was always that kid. Like, he was always that person. Unfortunately, it could be good for you, in your life, or it could be bad. So he just ended up, he ended up just getting into a darker place, you know, and so we had to observe that and we had to see that. So it definitely, you know, for me personally, you know, I know my bros, I know my crew, you know, I talk to them every day pretty much, and we're still really connected. You know, we have to be, you know, and even though some members are doing other things with their art, you know, we got jiu-jitsu fighters in the crew, you know, we got like yogis in the crew, we got, you know, up and coming like Olympic champions in the crew, we got business people in the crew, you know what I'm saying? Like, so we're building a whole different empire over here, you know, and that's what I say, going back to like, you know, like, why don't you feel like if you did this, your name would be this way? Like, it ain't really about that. That's the thing what people don't realize. Like, you know, sometimes the silent people that, you know, have the whatever numbers, they might be actually doing something more than the people that have 40K. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't really matter any day at the end of the day. It's
Right.
like, for me, it's more about what are you doing in your life? Like, what are you doing in your life? Like, if you don't have any purpose in your life other than just to compete and just to battle people and just to have a presence of being the best, like, what the fuck is that really doing? Like, that's not fucking doing nothing. You're just doing shit for yourself, you know? And again, like, these are stages that you go through your life, right? Obviously, when you're a young gunner, you're coming up, you got to make a name for yourself. You got to do dirt. You got to put in work. You got to kill. You got to win. You got to do whatever you got to do. But I'm just saying, in those time frames and that you're doing that, take time to invest in yourself. Take time to really build your own empire, to build something that you can live off of, that you can grow off of, that you can pass on to the next. You know what I mean? Because then if you don't, then it's like, what are you doing it for? And then some people, I get it. You know, I have a lot of homies that, you know, don't do anything for fucking a name or anything else. They just want to train. They just want to practice. They just want to be around you. They just want to share the same energy with you. You know, so
Right.
you can't take away from that either. You know, you can't get lost into this like competition. I gotta be on top. I gotta be on top. You can't lose the whole purpose of like your essence of just being and living life.
Right. Because then it's just, I guess, ultimately it just ends up being war stories if you don't do it right. You just have a bunch of stories to tell, but nothing to show for it. You know.
Again, and that's the thing. It's like, you know, I can't like I can only feel what I feel, and like I said, like for me, it's like it's my duty, dude, to like do this, you know, because you know, little sin's my heart, you know what I mean. And I feel like every day he's like looking down on me, like you better do something, bro. Like, what are you doing? Oh, well, you sleeping right now? Hold on, are you serious? So,
No doubt.
you know, like like for me personally, you know, every freak's gonna have their perspective because we're all connected to him, and again, like we raised him, so he's a part of all of us. Like he's a part of every, you know, every freak member, even the new generation that's in the crew now. You know,
Right.
he's still with us, so it's like it's hard, bro. Like I can't really like I don't know. There's a lot behind it. I just don't want to get like too deep into it because there's a lot of like unsolved mysteries
No
behind
doubt.
my bro, you know, and it's like it's hard, you know. So I feel like I don't like to really go too deep into things until I have all of the details and all of the assurance and like the clarity. You know, I don't feel I have clarity and
Mm.
you know like you know reassurance of him being in a better place. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I just have a lot to do to get back to that mental state, you know, to find that clarity, to find it like his spirit, so I can feel more connected to his spirit in a sense, you know. So, yeah, man, it's yeah, it's deep for sure.
So where what's some projects that you're working on these days? What is Raw Skeleton up to in
Right
2020?
now, like right now, I'm one of the teachers here at School of Breaking in Colorado, and we emphasize on a breaking program, you know, that's designed to help develop and understand, you know, not only the culture but just yourself. We're very like very educational in the form of like just working with kids and stuff like that, you know. So we train a lot of kids and a lot of youth working in schools and stuff like that as well. So I'm doing that. You know, that's like, you know, that's what I do, you know, majority of my time for sure, on top of everything else that I do, you know. So and then I have my own personal projects that I've been, you know, kind of dabbling into as talking with you, you know, being with my own company, Tricks and Blows, you know, like that's like what I've been also focusing on too. I'm one of a person that just like I try to hold a lot of different hats. Like I feel like I'm like a machine, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm always like trying to like just keep it going, keep it moving, you know what I mean? So like I put a lot of time into um, the studio that I rock with and I built with, you know what I mean? Like, and I also put a lot of time into my own personal like time in my practice and my training and my company as well. Right now, me and one of my crew members, we're going out to Texas next week or this week for B-Boy City. We got invited for the one-on-ones in the crew. We're gonna be teamed up. So there's a lot of the homies that got invited for the one-on-ones, like one of my crew members, Bowsy from Freakshow. He's an invite for the one-on-ones, and then we are also invited in the crew on cruise, which is like a mixture of like a lot of different energies. The homie Pop from New York, Damien from New York, Jihad from San Diego, myself, Bowsy, Breezy from Texas, and Heat Rock. And then I think we have a couple others that are going to jump in with us too. But it's kind of like, yeah, man, we're about to go do some work. I mean, obviously this is COVID, we know that. So, but what made us feel safe about it is the jam. They're kind of like innovating the future too, because again, we can't live in fear. You can't live in fear. You can't live in this like this weird depression state where you can't move. You know what I'm saying? So they have a really safe protocol. Invites are only the only ones that are able to go to the event. There will not be any spectators whatsoever. Just strictly like the participants that are involved with the event, DJ, host, judges, participants. They're also having the kids category invite only and all styles as well. So it's like a full on jam, but it's just the competitors, that are there and the event itself, and it's going to be streamed live for the people. So I thought that was pretty dope. So this will be my first time kind of traveling since COVID hit. I haven't traveled for like 7 months. I've been here just doing a lot of teaching and training and building myself. Like I stay ready. You know what I'm saying? Like even though we've been in this time, I'm always ready. You know what I'm saying? That's just how my mind is. Like I can't get stuck. I got to keep myself, focused. So I just try to stay on my grind and stay on the mission, at hand. But of course, give back where I can and help where I can, because I think that's the most important here. So, that's kind of where I've been positioning myself. I'm not really working on a bunch of projects. The projects that I'm working on are like literally just offering like online workshops and personal training, and just kind of like teaching, and just kind of pushing my brand and just really trying to take the time right now to study, to do it, in my rightful way, not the right way, my rightful way, So when I'm talking to people, when I'm interviewing with individuals, I'm not just yell, you know what I mean? Like I'm really just working on just trying to deliver on a very professional standpoint. I think that's like what I've been really trying to focus on, my business game, and like really like, my literature, the way that I speak, the way that I talk, to individuals, not in a sense of just trying to change who I am, but just like, you got to learn how to deal with people in life. You know what I mean? You can't carry yourself in this way where it's just super, super like just urban all the time. You know what I mean? You got to learn how to like just evolve yourself. And so I've been just trying to work that in my game. I just turned 34, 4 days ago, 5 days ago.
Happy birthday, man.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I think 4 days ago. There we go. The 14th. So, I'm feeling good. I feel like that's the thing too. It's like, how much can I be like on some like crazy like ravage mode at this age? You mean like I'm 34 years old, so you got to show some kind of evolution where you are as a human. Like, where am I? Where do I stand? So I'm just trying to show a different side of myself to the world, to the community, so I can get my position too. You know what I'm saying? Of like people like really like, yo, Raw Skeleton got knowledge. Like he should be in this position. He should be here instead of being put here, in a sense, because it is a fight. I feel like you gotta feed the culture, like in a sense of the way it's going. If you keep putting in like old bears and old news, what do you think that's gonna feed into the culture? At some point in time, you gotta freshen it up a little bit and start passing the torch to the next OGs and the next Gs that are coming up, that are still active, that are still doing it, that can still keep the scene right and keep it elevated, and keep the people that are competing on a high level, that are changing the game, to make them feel like, damn, I'm actually like, this fool can actually, he can still battle me. He'll smoke me. You know what I'm saying? Like like I'm not one to like to want to be in a judge's seat or in a panel and not be able to fucking talk the shit. You know what I mean? I think that's for me. So I try to just stay on point on that level. I'm just trying to get to a higher plateau. Like I don't want to be seen as just like a hardcore battlehead. You know what I'm saying? Like I've been doing that my whole life. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to get my stripes up. I'm a CEO of my business. You know what I mean? Like I am the CEO. And it's a Black owned business. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I'm just like trying to just do it in a different way, where it's like it sets up not only opportunity for myself but others too. because again, I'm not doing this for myself, you know what I mean? But we gotta live, we gotta survive. I'm just trying to make a way, you know what I mean? I'm just trying to make a different way. And
No doubt.
hopefully the people that want to support, and the ones that don't, like, it's all love too, you know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't gonna stop doing me,
Right?
so that's kind of where I'm at, like, I don't know what the future holds, as when it comes for like other things. I'm in the mix of just creating my own projects and my own things. So again, my workshops are monthly, so I drop them monthly. You can follow me on my Instagram too at Tricks and Blows, and tricksandblows.com, as well as my website, or you can follow me at Raw Skeleton TFS as well. You know what I'm saying? So I'm really heavy into the social media as well and all that good stuff. But again,
Dope.
man, I'm just trying to connect, and I'm also doing podcasts and like interviews too. I do these episodes too that just kind of like I interview cats, on different styles in the breaking culture, from abstract styles and other just weird different styles that kind of like birth, what we do in a sense.
Right.
So I'm just trying to dabble into a little bit of everything. I think right now it's just like I'm on a very creative mindset right now, and I'm opening up my portal for more conversation,
There
more
you go.
conversation to build, and keep it going.
No doubt. And on that note, Raw Skeleton, Freak Show, Beyond the Cypher. We appreciate your time, man. Anytime you in Arizona, man, hit me up, and I'll do whatever I can to make sure your stay is that much better, man.
For sure, bro. I appreciate you too, man. I hope you do your dues, and like all the best for you too. Stay healthy and safe and all that. And thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak on your platform, man. For sure.
No doubt, man. Peace.